What's up, you guys? Welcome to today's video and a new series on the channel. We're going to be talking today about Griselda Blanco, and I'm also going to share with you as many as I can possibly think of female drug lords in history. If you guys are new here, hi, my name is Jess. I'm a person in long-term recovery who has in fact gone to prison for selling drugs. I didn't kill anybody though. If you guys want to follow me on any other social media platform, TikTok, Instagram, Patreon, that's $2. It's only ever going to be $2. All of that is linked down below, as well as my vlog channel and my podcast. But Griselda has a very long history, so we need to just kick this thing off. There's a lot of places where we can start with Miss Blanco, but let's start with 1979. 1979 in Miami, I could just picture it, you know, palm trees and the beach, maybe some roller skates and some like really short shorts on guys, and no social media, no cell phones. People are just, you know, like talking to each other. Weird times, but they're hanging out and they're not on their cell phones. So it seems cool to me, dude. I say we go back to that. But something is changing in Miami at this time. So let's go to July 11th, 1979. There is a broad daylight shooting and multiple people are killed, people are injured. This happens at the Dateland Mall. Now, what's crazy about that is it was very unique for the time. Miami was not seeing shootings in broad daylight like this. At this point in time, Miami averaged 80, maybe 100 murders per year. Well, at this time, things really started to kick off and become very, very violent. And very quickly, they went from about 80 to 100 murders a year to about 400 murders a year. And they're also seeing an influx of drugs. The people that were killed at the Dateland Mall outside of this liquor store were Colombian gang members. What local law enforcement didn't realize about the Dateland murders is that was the kickstart, the jumpstart of something so much bigger. So those men responsible for the murders outside of the Dateland Mall were none other than the cocaine cowboys, and we're gonna get there. But Miami really saw just an influx of drugs and crime and violence and just a lot of what they would call warfare, Colombian drug warfare to be exact. So this was a very crazy time for Miami, as you could imagine. So during this time in the late 70s, they had about 100,000 criminals, 350 rival gangs, and things were getting really scary and really dangerous. But why? Where was this coming from? Who was at the heart of all of this? Well, it wasn't easy for law enforcement to figure out who was responsible for the hits and all the drugs and all of this lawlessness. Where was this coming from? Who's at the source of it? Well, these people that were here from Colombia, they were very tight-lipped. They did not go around flaunting what was going on. If you asked them about anything, they wouldn't tell you. People were not snitching. So it took some time to dig and get low-level people to be threatened with the idea of spending life in prison to finally be able to start whispering a name. One name to be exact, Griselda Blanco. Just to give you guys some kind of perspective on just how violent Miami had become, America had not seen this kind of fear and crime and violence and murder and lawlessness since the horrifying reign of Al Capone. This really was a historic time in like the worst way possible. It is said that Griselda Blanco would kill you if she owed you money. If you owed her money, she'd kill you for fun. She'd kill you if you offended her. She'd kill you if she didn't trust you. She was very quick to pull the trigger or to tell other people to go take you out. But why? Where did she come from? Why was she such a cold-blooded killer? Where did she get her start? Well, we have to back it all the way up to 1954, Medellin, Colombia. She's born. Her mom was a sex worker. From my research, her father was like not there and in and out of the picture. And at a very young age, she also turned to sex work. So as I just mentioned, she was born in Medellin, Colombia. Her neighborhood was uniquely criminal. They would label Medellin as the red light district, which means if something is illegal over here in Colombia, they get a pass because we can't go there. Like, it's so violent, it's so bad, so many drugs, a lot of crime. So they kind of got a pass in her neighborhood to be able to do whatever they wanted to do, whether that was, you know, drugs or they would kill each other. It was really one of those places where the government wouldn't step in and do anything because it was just that bad. It was just such a violent and dangerous place, and that is where she got her roots, which makes so much sense to me. So Griselda gets her toes wet, so to speak, when it comes to crime. She starts out as a thief. She starts out pickpocketing people, which I'm sure she was really good at, because when you're small and you're a little girl, because she was young, she was very young when she started stealing and pickpocketing, you were overlooked, and I know a little bit about that. So she was pickpocketing and stealing things from people, and that was really like her first taste of crime. And then legend has it that her first murder took place when she was just 11 years old. Now, this cannot be proved, but it is said that at 11 years old, Griselda kidnapped a young boy, or probably around her age, and she tried to get ransom money from his parents. Well, his parents didn't take Griselda's threats seriously, and they would not pay the ransom. So what did she do? Yeah, she killed him. And that was, or so it is said, her first killing at 11 years old. I can't imagine that. My daughter's 10, so I can't wrap my head around that. I can't comprehend that, but that's where it starts. In 1957, at the age of 13, Griselda meets a man who is much older than her. His name is Carlos T. I'll never be able to say his name right, so you're just gonna give me a pass on that one. Trivellalo? I can't say it. Whatever. Carlos T. He's a smuggler. Can you guys guess what he smuggles? Humans. Yeah, like human beings into the United States. Now, Carlos is an iconic teacher to Griselda, so he is teaching her how to create fake passports. Griselda would learn how to make fake passports with Carlos for like 5 years, and she became very, very good at it. And that would be just an invaluable resource to her later in life, but she's also learning another skill from Carlos. She is learning how to smuggle. But if you learn how to smuggle one thing, you can learn how to smuggle another, right? It's the same practice, same principle that is used later in Griselda's life, but she learns how to make fake passports. She gets really good at it. Now, during her time with Carlos, she and him together smuggled thousands of people into the US. So at 19, she's married to Carlos, and they have 3 sons together. Uber, which strange, Dixon, and Oswaldo. Carlos and Griselda, they would spend most of their time in between Colombia and New York City. Remember those fake passports? Well, they just be flying all over the place, and they're having a great time smuggling people and like living their best life. Things look pretty good for Griselda. You know, she's a mom now, so she's gonna chill, right? Like she's got her little smuggling gig. She helps people get into the United States. So at age 27, something horrible happens. Carlos dies from like cirrhosis of the liver, and it's sudden and it's awful, and people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that your husband is dead of cirrhosis randomly out of the clear blue sky. Weird, super suspicious. Now, if you were a betting person, you would think, oh my gosh, Griselda, she's gonna mourn the loss of Carlos. This is the person that she's been with for years. They have a family together, they have kids together. He taught her everything that she knows when it comes to smuggling and making passports. Like, this is a big loss, man. She's gonna be just inconsolable, grieving in bed, right? Like, really mourning this loss. This is a huge, like, her husband just died, huge loss. No, because then she would not be who she is. So it is speculated that Griselda just offed Carlos, just got rid of him, because instead of mourning his death, she is getting married to husband number 2. Husband number 2's name is Alberto Bravo. Whew, girl. Quick, and it's happening quick. So Alberto is a small-time, decent-sized smuggler of cocaine, while Griselda sees the money that she can make here, and she scoops him right up, puts a ring on it, and now they're just they're just going to be drug smugglers. And there's some obstacles along the way, but she sees the potential there. She really is a mastermind and a pioneer, because instead of just being happy with the cocaine money that Bravo is bringing in, she's like, no, we can go bigger. And you know, we gotta appreciate that. We gotta appreciate someone that wants to just go get it, you know, when the goal is always more. I don't know, I think it took a lot of ambition and bravery. I'm not saying it's okay to smuggle drugs. I'm just saying she had a vision and she had a plan, and that should count for something. So in 1973, Alberto and Griselda, they go to New York City, and she has one thing on her mind: more. She wants to expand. She wants to smuggle cocaine in. So in order for Griselda to become a huge international cocaine trafficker and smuggler, she needs a plan. She needs distributors, and she needs to figure out how to import that. And you know, there's some stuff that she's got to get done. Well, good news. First husband, Carlos, R.I.P. bro. I don't know why you had to go, but R.I.P. He had already had people in the United States, because remember, they were smuggling people in. Well, now we're going to make all of those people distributors of cocaine. So step number one to her plan, they have to get the cocaine, right? Because if you don't have a product to move, how are you going to make money? So what Bravo's guys does is they go down to Peru, and then they go up to Bolivia, and they take the cocaine that Bravo has purchased, they take it up to Medellin, and they repackage it, and now they are ready to take their product to the United States. But how are they gonna do that? How do they get a ton of cocaine into the United States? Well, with beautiful women, of course. So remember I said Griselda grew up in Medellin, and her mom was a worker, and she unfortunately did do some of that kind of work when she was just a young girl. She kind of learned along the way that you could manipulate some men. Sorry guys, y'all know it's true. If you're good looking and flirtatious. So that was exactly her plan. Her plan was to have beautiful women dressed very nicely, to distract the guards, and to fly 1 kilo of cocaine per girl from wherever they were into the United States for wherever she wanted them to go. So that is exactly what they did. They would pad their bras with a key of cocaine per girl, and they would take it and they would give it to the distributor. So 1 key per 1 female meant $10,000 of net profit for just that one person flying in. Now, I don't know if you can do the math or not. Inflation's been crazy, but in 1973, $10,000 was a lot more than $10,000 is today. That's a lot of money. And all they're doing is flying from A to B. Boom, 10 grand. In net profit. There's a problem here though, because in 1973, there was such an influx of cocaine into New York City and pretty much everywhere that the DEA started to take notice. They're like, whoa, where is all this coming from? What the hell is going on? This is crazy. And they started to open an investigation to try to figure out where all this stuff was coming from. And they recruited 2 people that were Spanish speaking to run the DEA operation. The 2 guys that would take on this case were Robert Neves and Bob Palumbo, both Spanish speaking, which you would think helps because Spanish is Spanish, right? We're gonna get there. 2 years go by. Like, how frustrating. You know, you were assigned a job and a case, and 2 years go by and you can't get anything out of these people. No one's talking, no one is snitching. They don't understand where all the stuff is coming in from. They suspect a little bit of this and that, but they don't really know. They don't have a name, a suspect, nothing. Until a small-time dealer was busted. It always comes down to a snitch, you know, every single time. Well, this snitch was facing 30 years in prison, and he decided to get less time, because they almost always do.
I had strangers on my motion discovery.
He decided that he was going to give up his connect, who was Lila Parada. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but she was also not a big time dealer. She was kind of lower level dealer. She was making some money, but she wasn't Griselda, right? Still a player, and they were very happy to have this information, because once you can create a little trail, then you're like, okay, this low level, like, nobody is selling drugs, he's getting it from this chick, okay, now we can kind of go somewhere with that. So they had enough to install a wiretap on her phone, so they're listening to Lila's phone conversations. Now remember how I said the people in charge of this investigation were Spanish speaking? Spanish is Spanish, right? Nah. it is a whole different world in Colombia. So they have code words that they say, so that makes it a little more challenging. Then they have a whole new slang or dialect, plus the neighborhoods that they were from in Medellin had their own different way of speaking to each other. So that posed a huge challenge to DEA agents because, yeah, like we speak Spanish, but y'all are speaking in code and you're saying things that we don't even know, that the slang words we don't know, and it was very difficult to figure out what they meant. So that took a lot of time. For example, if someone was on the phone and they were saying that someone has left the funeral, that might be code for cocaine is en route into New York City. If they said beautiful children with good bones, that meant like great cocaine, pure 100% cocaine with crystal. If they said beautiful children with good bones, like, so if you were translating this, how would you be able to differentiate between left funeral, beautiful children with good bones? How do they make any sense? Well, probably because they were repeating those phrases without any other context to like a funeral or a child. So over time, you would start to understand what these code words and what these, sayings were. But man, that chewed up a chunk of time. Well, the DEA gets a break, and over these wiretaps, two names came up. Sisters named Carmen and Gloria I'm never gonna say these names right. I'm so bad at that. Well, Carmen was facing X amount of years in prison and she was at Rikers Island. So the DEA decided, I'm gonna go down there and we're gonna talk to her. And at first, when Carmen sat down with them, she was terrified. I mean, desperately terrified. She is in maximum security. No one can really get to her at that time. Like, we weren't seeing like prison styles executions at that time, but still, she was really afraid to talk. Until the DEA said, we'll give you witness protection and we will make sure that you can be with your family. Now that is a huge deal because if Carmen's going to prison for, let's say, 10, 20 years and her sister's going to prison, they're not gonna see each other for a while. Her family, who knows where they are. So this was a really good deal to Carmen and she took it and she snitched. She would go on to give up 37 names. 37, come on, bro, 37 names. And then finally she gave up the name that they were waiting for. You guessed it, Griselda Blanco. That was like a huge break for the DEA. I mean, they're just sitting in like a van listening to wiretaps, listening to very difficult level Spanish with slang and code words and fake names and all this crap, and finally they get a name. So it was a huge lead. But hold on. That's all they have. So even though they have enough to indict this person, Griselda Blanco, they don't know what she looks like or where she is, or at first if that is even her real name. Like, that is what's crazy. They have no picture of her. So basically this name is just like dust, like, oh great, now we know that we don't know anything. Like, so it was like, yay, we have it. No, just kidding, we don't, we have nothing. I mean, she was really genius and she was untraceable. She had tons of fake identities, tons of fake passports. And how do you stop someone without knowing what they look like and what their aliases are? I mean, she was just using all these passports, which looked real AF. So she was basically a ghost at that point. And for whatever reason, not sure how she found out, but she caught word that the DEA was after her and she disappeared because that's what ghosts do. So she goes back to Colombia and she goes underground and she's safe there. That's her home. She's got a lot of people there, a lot of connections, money, power, the whole 9 yards when you're a crazy, killing drug dealer that is ruthless. She's good there, right? Well, there was this guy, maybe you've heard of him. He was kind of tearing shit up in Bogota, Colombia. He was just as ruthless and absolutely not afraid of her at all. His name was Don Pablo Escobar. Pablo Escobar was coming up and he did not want to take her shit. He wanted her out. He wanted to muscle her out however he could. And if you know anything about Pablo Escobar, he was killing cops, bribing officials, doing anything that he possibly could to get his business off the ground. And Pablo, not that this is about him, but he is the world's most wealthy criminal in history. So yeah, he's got some resources and some muscle, and he gives absolutely zero Fs about her. He just wants her gone, and he's gonna muscle her out however he can, but she is just as ruthless. And what they do is they both have teams of assassins constantly going after each other. So Griselda comes up with a way to very quickly and very effectively murder people. Yeah, she creates an entire style, which, like, holy cow, that's terrifying. Maybe I would never leave the house without a a bulletproof vest if I had assassins constantly going after me? But, you know, whatever. She creates that style of killing, and it really is one of those things where they're just at war with each other for a while. And she's very lucky to have not been killed by Pablo then, because Pablo literally transformed Bogota into like the murder capital of the world, so she eventually leaves Medellin. Pablo really made it impossible for her to stay there, so she just had to go. So do you remember husband number 2, Bravo, Alberto Bravo? There were some rumors going around that he was not only taking money from her, but he was also having an affair. So what does she do? She politely and kindly asks for divorce, right? No. She guns him down because you're not gonna steal from me and cheat on me, so dead. And after killing husband number 2, she is labeled the Black Widow. So now, Griselda, on the run from the DEA, she's on the run from Pablo. Alberto, peace out, bro. You had to go apparently, so RIP to you. So she essentially disappears again, and the DEA's case goes cold. She's underground, she's hiding. Shit got tense for a minute, so she needs to like lay low. But do you think that she's gonna just take her money and like go and live her best, most like I'm out of the drug game world? No, she's not gonna retire. She's not gonna retire, because if she retired, we wouldn't be sitting here today. Well, in 1976, in Miami, things start to get crazy and a lot of drugs, a lot of violence, right? The DEA is like, is that her? Is she back? Informants at that time were whispering Griselda's aliases to the DEA, so they're like, I bet it's her. I bet she's back. We got her. Do you remember how I started the video in 1979? Dateland Mall murder, crazy, broad daylight killings, very vicious, very violent. Well, the local law enforcement that were taking care of that case, they didn't have the resources and then even the knowledge to know that, okay, this is like international criminal, Colombian gang members, like this is bad. This is the Medellin cartel. Like there's a lot of shit going on. So local law enforcement couldn't even keep up with the bodies that were on the street, let alone to understand that this was a much bigger thing and this was coming from a vicious leader of organized Colombian crime, right? So at first, local law enforcement were like, whoa, man, this is too much. So from 1979 to 1982, it's rough. It's a rough time for Miami. Well, in June in 1982, law enforcement would get a call about a family murdered in a household, and it was just a scene from like some horrible movie, like, I don't know, First 48 or some shit. Like, it was bad. So this is something that it was overkill, it was gory. Everyone was shot 3 or 4 times, tied up. You could tell on scene that there was a huge struggle. Some people were shot running away. I mean, it was really bad. It was just really bad. And it was very clear that whoever did this, Blanco, they wanted their point to be made. And a message received. So the family that was living in there, it was a Colombian family. Their last name was Lorenzo. The Lorenzo family, just murdered in their own house. It's one of my biggest fears. Just during her time in Florida, Griselda would go on to order over 200 murders. It is also estimated that she was smuggling in 3,400 pounds of cocaine per month into the country. She has distributors all over the country, and she was making $80 million a month. Not $80 million a year, which is still an insane amount of money. No. She was making $80 million a month. Where was it going? Is there money hidden somewhere? You can't even spend that much money, so like what the hell was she doing with it? That's insane. Well, the DEA is after her, Pablo's after her. Things are kind of rough. It's getting really tense, getting really heated, and she's not really sure who she can trust. So of course, she has her oldest sons, Uber, Osvaldo, and Dixon, to start trafficking for her. Her oldest sons were trafficking a lot of cocaine. They were not small time, and they were doing it in San Francisco, Miami, and LA. A lot of the time, drug businesses like this are family businesses, and Griselda has a lot of enemies. I mean, people can't just be killing people. You're gonna make a lot of enemies, right? And she has enemies all over the place, so it would make sense that her sons would step up and join the business with her. Well, the DEA is just running out of time, and they don't know how to get to her until it is whispered to them, oh wait, her sons are working? Okay, that is going to be her weakness. That is going to be her spot. That is where we get in. Well, how do they do that? Can you guess? You guys can guess by now. a snitch, because it always comes back to a snitch. Well, in 1983 in Texas, there was a prisoner serving federal time. His name was Jerry Gomez. And the DEA had this huge plan. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna release one criminal, just let him go, like for free. And we're gonna have him go contact these sons so that we can eventually get Griselda. That makes sense, right? I mean, he was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison, but let's just open the gates, let him out, and hopefully he won't run away and embarrass us. Hopefully he'll help us catch these people. What? So this is not uncommon, and this is still happening today. The FBI, or the federal government, is notorious for using one dangerous criminal to catch another dangerous criminal at any expense necessary. A friend of mine was arrested for possession of a firearm, and the person that gave him that gun was a undercover, a snitch, a CI through the feds, except for the CI was on parole and a violent offender. So the feds gave a violent offender a gun to sell to another violent offender, my friend, and he went to prison for that. I actually did a story time on it, and I'll leave it on the card up here if you're interested. Circling back to Gomez over here, he sold motorcycles, and that's, I guess, how he met Griselda's sons. So his plan was like, oh, I'm gonna randomly reach out to these people that I sold motorcycles to. What? Okay. And I'm gonna see if they will let me smuggle, or I'm sorry, launder money for them. I know I sold you a motorcycle, but I can launder some money for you. And I know you haven't seen me in a really long time, and if you look up any of my stuff, you'll see that I should be in prison right now. Trust me. Like, this has red flags written all over it, right? So, 1984, San Jose, California. Gomez gets a hold of Dixon, the youngest son of Griselda, and they plan to meet. And at this first meeting, Gomez was wearing a wire. So Gomez is talking to Dixon, saying like, oh, let me launder money for you, man. I got you. I know somehow, after I sold you a motorcycle, that your family are international cocaine smugglers.
Let me help you.
So Dixon seems kind of interested, doesn't really seem nervous about the fact that none of this is making sense, and he didn't catch on to the fact that Gomez was wearing a wire, so like, yay, good job. During that first meetup, Gomez was able to get on wiretap that Griselda is in between LA and Miami. Well, that's not really specific, but it kind of helps them understand that yes, she's in the country, it's in between LA and Miami, so that's good. But it's really just not enough, you know, they need more. 3 weeks go by and Gomez gets a phone call. Is it from Dixon? No. Is it from one of the other brothers? No. It is from the Black Widow herself, the Queen Bee, Miss Blanco. And she wants to meet Gomez because she's interested in this laundering money situation. So she obviously needed to hide some money. And like, I get it. How can you make $80 million a month? Where is it going? How do you package it? Is it like the Breaking Bad scene where she had to spray the money for like bugs because the bugs would eat the money? Like, what is happening? Where is it? Where's it go? I don't even know what $80 million looks like in a room. So, do you wait at that point? I have a lot of questions. Not the point of the story. So, Gomez is fucking scared because he's about to meet someone that could kill him at the drop of a hat. She could kill him because he offends her, because she doesn't like him or whatever. Like, she is ruthless. She's a cold-blooded murderer. She is a serial killer. Well, they wire Gomez up and he goes to meet Griselda, and he is incoherent. He is pouring in sweat, hella nervous, can't even stream together any kind of words or sentences. And Griselda's like, oh, hell no. This is not the dude that's gonna launder my money. Absolutely not. And immediately she's like, no. Thanks, but no thanks. And she leaves. Well, the DEA was like, oh my God, now we really don't have her. Thanks a lot, bro. Useless. He was so nervous he could barely articulate and form any kind of words that made sense. Like, I mean, I get it. She's scary, but pull it together. Well, the DEA decides, okay, well, we have all these recordings. Let's go through all these recordings and see if we can figure out something, anything, any kind of clue that we missed previously. And they were able to find like this storefront, and it seemed kind of weird, but they're like, let's check out the address of this and let's get a warrant for this address. They were actually able to find a utility bill for an apartment. Now, this apartment really seemed like the perfect place for Griselda to go. It was not high-end, not super flashy, but nice. But not the kind of apartment that you'd be like, whoa, a billionaire definitely lives here. So February 17th, 1985, they start a stakeout on this apartment, and she's spotted inside the apartment. I know, crazy. So the cop immediately calls for backup, or the DEA agent, sorry, immediately calls for backup because they think if we don't get her right now, we're never gonna see her again and she's gonna disappear. We have to go in now. They go in the house and they're asking, you know, all these guns drawn, all these cops are there and they're asking, are you, you know, Griselda Blanco? Oh, I don't know. And she's trying to play it off like she's not her. And what's crazy is she has no bodyguards, no one by her side. She was alone in that house. All she had was a gun on her bedside table that she couldn't get to in time. And Bob, the DEA agent who had been working on this case for 10 years, immediately walks up to her, gives her a kiss on the cheek, and she goes, why? What was that for? Why'd you do that? Why'd you just do that? And she really was like, this is weird because I'd be the same way. And Bob goes, oh, it's because I'm really glad to see you.
Ew, what?
A few months later, her sons are also arrested, and that would bring her reign to an end, kinda. So Griselda serves 13 out of 15 years for trafficking, and she serves that time in federal prison. And then she's brought back to Florida to face trial for murder. It was 1994 that she was put on trial in Florida for murder, and in a weird twist of fate, like tell me she didn't have something to do with this. In a weird twist of fate, the prosecutor was caught in a sex scandal with one of the witnesses. I don't know how, but you're making $80 million a week and you're arrested and you've got people all over the place. You got the resources to get a witness to go, you know, shack up with the prosecutor. So this is a huge scandal, and because of that, the prosecuting attorney, they were like required to cut her a deal. So she only got 7 years added onto her sentence for murder, and she escapes the death penalty because of scandal. She's genius. I'm telling you. I think it's her. I think it was a whole plan. And like, yo, I know y'all hate her, right? But you gotta give her credit. This is fucking genius. Take notes if you're gonna be a drug. I'm just kidding. Don't. Okay, so 2004, Griselda gets released from federal prison and she gets deported back to Medellin, Colombia. Well, she disappears for years and nothing is really seen or heard from her. They know where she's at. They know she's chilling in Medellin, and then it happens. September 3rd, 2012, she is gunned down outside of a butcher shop by an assassin on a motorcycle. They do a motorcycle drive-by killing and kill Griselda Blanco on the street. Karma, you know? The execution style that she invented all those years ago comes back to bite her in the ass. And at age 69, Griselda Blanco shot and killed. Here's the amazing part. She made it to age 69. Like, that is the longest reign of a criminal life that I could even comprehend. I mean, what? You escape Pablo? Pablo doesn't get you? You make it to 69 years old. You gotta give her credit. I know she was evil and crazy and killed a bunch of people, but like, whoa, man. Her 3 oldest sons would go on to go to federal prison for a decade or so, I believe. As Waldo was killed in a nightclub at just age 25 over like drug issues. It's a whole thing. Dixon was paroled in 1992, and he was also killed in Colombia. I'm not sure how Uber died. I couldn't find that in my research. Hold on, plot twist. She had a 4th son. Where is he? What's his name? Where'd he come from? You didn't mention her having another kid. Well, she had a 3rd husband, and not a lot is known about him. I can't even say his name. I'm just gonna put it on the screen. And Griselda would have her 4th son. His name is Michael Corleone Blanco. Where is Michael? Is he alive? Is he okay? Well, his story is tragic, and I can do a whole video on him. He's alive, but the things that he went through, not cool, not okay. He's gone through a lot. He really did, and his mom gone, brother's gone. I mean, he really had a very unfortunate childhood, which it's a whole video for another time, but he is alive, and he is living in LA, and he has a cannabis business. That was a journey, right? Crazy. And I still left out tons of details about her. She is fascinating. So if you ever want to research violent, gory, crazy mastermind drug lords, she's a great place to start because, whoa, a lot of twists and turns, and she made it really, really long. 69, that is a very long life for someone like Griselda Blanco. All right, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next female drug lord that I'm going to be talking about. But I'm gonna end today's video here. As always, I love you guys. Stay safe, stay in recovery, whatever that looks like to you. Don't do it. Don't sell drugs and cocaine and murder people. Just maybe ask for a divorce, you know? You don't gotta be a black widow. Bye, you guys.